Today, on this episode, we have a very interesting person who is going to tell us about a lot of stuff. Her name is Gayatri Shetty.
Hi.
I want to work with cars, I want to be with cars, car designer. And so they were like, oh, yeah, engineering, that's what you have to do. And then 10th, when my chemistry marks came, I was like, okay.
Reality.
It was like, no engineering because science is not my cup of tea.
But I felt confident in the studio. I felt myself, I felt my best. So, like, that feeling is also something you chase
Absolutely.
after. We always say, like, complain also that only dancers know how to help dancers.
Mhm.
During a show, on a show day, I get new clients and I'm like, they can't like hold themselves against a wall because you've just never had this conversation. I say right elbow, your left leg is coming up. Take a second to like slow down wherever I am. For me, it's involves moving and.
Welcome to Unlock Your Dreams. This is a set of podcasts by EduCafe Student Solutions. Today, on this episode, we have a very interesting person who is going to tell us about a lot of stuff. Her name is Gayatri Shetty. She is a dancer, mover, and choreographer from Bangalore. She has learned various forms of dance from Christ University, Attakallari Movement of Arts, and Gibney dance, all across the planet, that too, not just here in Bangalore. She is currently working with, or is a choreographer and part of the productions with Citizens of Stage Co-Lab, and has been part of, I don't know how many productions, she will tell us that. But welcome, Gayatri.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. A little bit nervous, but we'll get there.
Of course, don't worry. It's just us talking, having
Yes.
fun. So, to start off, Gayatri, what got you into dance?
I always danced. It's one thing I always knew how to do. I think I was dancing in the hall room as a child, so my mom was like, where do I put this energy? So she put me in dance class. I went to the great late Sridhar, and he teaches in Alliance. So I did dance class there, and then that's all I did through school, and then through +2, and then at college I decided to pursue like performing arts, and I also took psychology because that's what you do. You have to take
You have
one
to club arts with
yeah
psychology.
like one thing that you can do something with.
Ah.
No, so yeah, I took psychology and did a lot of dancing in Christ, and that was a lot of fun. And then I realized, oh fuck. Shit, am I allowed to swear?
That's okay.
I was like,
We'll beep it out.
so I said, oh shit, this is really fun, and I don't think I can do anything that makes me so happy, feel so fulfilled, and that I also enjoy doing. So I thought, okay, let me give myself a year after college, and I had like supportive family, and so that was great. So I was able to do that, and I did my diploma.
Nice.
My diploma at Attakallari is where everything changed.
Okay.
Like that was my like year of transformation, mentally, physically, everything. Your priorities change. I don't know. I think everyone has that at some stage. So for Attakallari for me was that, and it was amazing. Like 8-9 hours of training every day. You're so strong. You're so physically present in your body every day. Like. So yeah, that's where it started for me, and then there was no looking back. It's a bit of a reality check also that year, because you realize this is the thing you have to keep up for like the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to have a long career. So yeah, that's where it changed, and I decided this is what I want to do.
Oh, that's great. I
Yeah.
think a lot of us end up getting stuck on what our future is going to look like.
Yeah.
And so you tend to forget what you really like doing.
Yeah, but I think that for me, it helps that I come from a certain privilege.
Of course.
And
absolutely.
then I have support from family to be like, yeah, do this. I mean, now it's different, but when you're younger, that really plays a big role.
Absolutely.
And now I'm on my own, but like when you're younger, that plays a huge role to like be able to dream and say, oh wow, I will see myself doing this.
No, I completely relate. I mean, with
Yeah.
me, I was always hell bent on being a sports person.
Yeah.
Doing something or the other in sports.
Yeah.
And luckily I came from a sports family, so they also understood and were like, yeah, go for it, go for it. But it's just along the way. I remember, I think it was in 8th or ninth. I, because I loved cars, was like, as a career, I want to be a car designer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, I want to work with cars, I want to be with cars, car designer. And so they were like, yeah, engineering, that's what you have to do. And then 10th, when my chemistry marks came, I was like, okay. It was like, no engineering, because science is not my cup of tea. So then I was like, yeah, sports. And I think that was, not exactly a reality check for me, but it kind of made things very clear for me to be like, this is what I want to be in throughout.
So young?
Yeah.
That's so nice. Like, you have that clarity.
I don't know if you know the story, but my grandmother was an Olympic athlete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she was selected for the 52 Olympics.
So you've just seen it growing up. It's been.
And so when I heard the story of like her being selected, her not being allowed to go as like a woman, single woman in the 50s, then it was like, yeah, Olympics. Like, I have it in me, so can do.
Wow.
And that's when, not to plug it in, but when my dad started EduCafe, I did the whole career counseling and testing thing, and they were like, yeah, engineering and computer science is the way to go.
Of course.
And I was like, no, I don't want to. So, yeah, I think generally I don't want to call it a reality check, because I feel that's more negative in its connotation.
Yeah.
But just that realization of saying that this is something I can see myself doing long term makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. I think also seeing someone else do it, or like having that person or an inspiration or whatever, like, I don't know what to call it, but someone you've seen forge that path and get it done is also important. And like, for me, Attakalari was that. Like, I saw people doing this for like a living, for like their life revolves around this. And that realization is like, shit, I'm really not good at anything else. And I feel my best doing this, and I do it the best. So why not like push yourself to do it?
But why think that you're not good at anything?
That's just something I told myself then, which is like, I don't know, like, I used to always be like, oh yeah, I'm really not the best at anything, or like, where I felt like, oh wow, like here I can kill it, like, and I am killing it, and I feel confident. Maybe I was not that confident a child also, and that contributed to this. But I felt confident in the studio. I felt myself, I felt my best. So like, that feeling is also something you chase after, to be content. Like, and even now, when I'm not dancing, I'm on this rut for like, oh my god, I need to make enough for the month. I need to make sure I have like my rent sorted, my this. But when I'm dancing, it's something that doesn't cross my mind at all. I can spend hours doing that without thinking that, oh, this is actually not paying me that much. It's quite.
That also comes with the activity itself, right? So I feel when you are physically active, it's very hard to be thinking about rent.
Correct.
And other things. Like,
and
I can't imagine you doing
so
a contemporary dance and be like, no, rent.
It should be. All contemporary dancers are definitely worried about things like
but
that.
But not while they're dancing, right? Maybe afterwards they're like, oh no, how am I going to survive? But
no, for sure. Yeah. I think what I was trying to say is that you're just super content with there's no
I was just pulling
feeling for like chasing things, which is very much present in my everyday when I'm not having dance.
I think that's part and parcel with the society is the wrong word to use, but just with how lifestyle around us is. There are so many influencers, and when I say influencers, I don't mean Insta influencers, I just mean things that influence our thought and process. And then trying to stay true to what it is that you really want to do is quite challenging.
Correct.
But changing notions back to dance, so what does a day in a professional dancer's life look like?
Every day is very different. So me and I'll speak for myself, but
Mhm.
also a lot of my friends also do this. But I have like 4 ongoing gigs and jobs all the time. So I'm a Pilates teacher. I I do like personal training, and I do group classes in that space. I teach in schools. I
Oh,
teach
lovely.
kids dance, expressive movement. So, and then I do like annual days and those kind of gigs
Mhm.
where we choreograph for schools. Lots of fun.
Lovely.
Um, and then here and there, I do workshops, classes, la la. And then dance weaves through all this. Of course, all these also contribute to the body embodied practice and the practice within the body itself. So it does stay, for me at least, stays within the realm of dance.
Mhm.
But I know for a lot of people it's difficult.
Mhm.
So I do all these things, and then my performance career weaves through these things. And when and if I get an opportunity, which I think in the structure that we are in our country, contemporary dance is quite low in its like priority,
Mhm.
funding, everything. So
I mean, I'm sure dance in general is
exactly.
very low to begin
So
with.
yeah, so there's not much scope and large funding for freelance artists like myself, or like
Mhm.
someone who works as a single person.
Mhm.
I do have the collective Citizens of Stage, but we are all freelance artists ultimately struggling to do something. Um, yeah, so every day is very different.
Mhm.
Some days I have, like I said, grant writing and all those things. Some days it's full because I'm rehearsing for a production and I have a show coming up. So then we have like 7 hours of rehearsals, and then I try to have to move my classes around and prioritize dance. So it's a whole lot of scheduling.
Yeah,
My every day is a bunch of that, which I hate doing. It's the worst thing.
If only you had a secretary to do it.
Yes, we talk about that all the time because, like, we do as performers, you're the choreographer, you're the dancer, you're the rehearsal director, then you're the arts manager, you're managing all your dancers' time, you're managing the studio, like wherever you're rehearsing, you're basically your own light designer, everything. You wear so many hats,
Mhm.
and like in all this, like you tend to lose that performance body and that. So the whole thing is trying to preserve your art ultimately in all these like logistical things that we do every day. It sounds like a lot, but there's very like every day is a bit like small tiny step.
Mhm.
It's what it is.
Of course, I mean, it's a very interesting, I would say, space is the only word I can think of. But
Yeah.
even the industry, when you look at it, right? So with dance, even though it is a performing art, when you compare it to theater,
Yeah.
it's just so different because even with theater, I'm sure there is much more funding and everything else from that angle. But just the idea of how to use a space is, I feel, more complicated in dance than in theater. Not to hype myself up, but since I have done both, it's just like when I did dance, so I was part of Lude Vijay's dance studio.
Wow.
For 2 years, and so I did hip hop and salsa.
Nice.
And so when we were performing and we had to perform on stage, versus whenever I did theater, which mostly was in school, but also for one theater group, the the need for the space was much higher in dance. So
Yeah.
now, if let's say I start on point A and I'm going to finish in point B, how I start and finish also matters.
Yeah.
But with theater, that didn't matter. Like how I walk to point B or how I move around someone to point B is very, very basic as compared to saying I have to do a pirouette and I have to jump and then I have to land and then be like, yeah, jazz hands. But that's where I feel maybe from what you have said, that you would then need the supporting cast or a bigger supporting cast so that you guys as the dancers are able to preserve the art.
Correct. Yeah, ideally, in an ideal world. And I mean, like, so we're a small community and we do a lot of work for each other. We're always, and it's, we always say, like, complain also that only dancers know how to help dancers,
Mhm.
like, during a show, on a show day. Um, But it is the case. Like we're always, and I think it's because we're so used to each other and we know exactly what a performing body needs on the day of a show. And we perform full production, so like 15-minute like shows, and it's also like not only dance, it's a lot of performing and like theater and aspects of light, stage, all these things, of course, but it's physically draining and
Yeah, I'm sure.
for the mind as well, because sometimes the topics you choose to address or the concept of the show, you really have to live that show. So you're dead as a performer after. So you really need someone who understands that. So even as a crew, like sometimes we try, we pull in people and we're like, can you volunteer to help? Can you help? Like whatever. And like lots of people try and do help. But ultimately you feel like you need to do everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also think it's because maybe it's not consumed as much yet. Like the audience for it is very niche and small. I don't know if you've seen any contemporary dance productions itself.
Not
so
like.
yeah, it's very different. The whole experience, it's a very experiential process. You walk in and the whole thing is like from start to finish. It's you're witnessing what you want to witness. We're not telling you a story. Like so you witness what you're projecting ideally, and you see what you want to see, and that's what makes it lovely. You bring yourself to the room and that's all you have to do. But yeah, it's hard to sell, as you can see. Like it's hard to tell you what it is without making you be like, just come for a show
Yeah,
with me.
of course. I guess, I mean, that's also because the consumer mindset has shifted so
Yeah.
aggressively, right? Like now.
And I fully believe people have no patience to consume art right now. Like, there's no space for art. Like in today's fast-paced world, there's just no one has the time to sit and be
You
like.
just want reels more than anything.
Yeah, and that's what I get a lot, by the way, when I put out classes. I'm not complaining, but if I'm doing classes, a lot of people come to me and say, what song are we doing on? What reel are we making? It's no more about training.
Yeah.
And it's no more about like coming in and training that body,
Yeah.
moving, dancing, accessing that part of your body that you can only get once you've reached like a certain adrenaline.
Yeah.
There's no, I cannot sell that anymore.
Mhm.
Like that's not what sells. What sells is, oh my god, I'm choreographing to this song, and then we'll be able to make reels, bring this costume, all this.
Yeah.
This is what is going. So I mean, I think we're in a mid space right now with contemporary dance. We're trying to figure out like how can we bring in more consumers and have people just sit and spend 50 minutes with themselves. That's something people can't do.
I mean, yeah, as soon as you said that, it's brought like a world of thoughts in my head, because I've had so many conversations with regards to this, and it's slightly changing topic, but that is, I think, the biggest issue with people today is that they are just not able to be with themselves.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's you are distracting yourself from the flaws that you see in you,
Yeah.
and then because you don't want to see them, you're like, no. So
It's also, I feel like you don't know how to be with yourself. You've never, like,
of course, it's
you've never
because
learned.
I mean, to the psychologist in you might get very excited about this, but
I don't know about that.
but this whole idea about like not wanting to feel certain emotions, right? So when we go through some negative experience, I don't want to use the word traumatic, even though it can be, we now have decided that we do not want to address that at all, which
Correct.
means that if we are now on our own, we might end up addressing it, and therefore out of that fear, it's like I will not be one with myself versus being one with myself.
Correct.
And so I think that again is affecting you guys. It's probably affecting any performing
It's
arts.
affecting people, and what like perform. Ultimately, art is what's reflect. Art reflects what the society is. Ultimately. So it's affecting everyone's life. It's affecting the art.
Absolutely.
It's what it is. And with trauma, I don't think people understand that what you forget, the body will forever remember. it will hold it somewhere in your body, and it will cause you strain in your neck. You'll have people complaining like, oh my god, my neck is always hurting, and every other day I have a neck. Yeah, it's, what do you think it is? It's all your stress because you choose not to process it. And even if you choose not to process it in your mind, you have to process it in the body. And I don't think people realize this is your home forever, and you have to treat it like so.
Absolutely.
You cannot
You take your body for granted.
This is your forever home. Like, you cannot be like, let me replace my body because it's deteriorating. Let me go put my souls. Like, wow, wish we could do that, but no, we can't. And we're just ignoring it every day. You just move on with your day, ignoring your body, and it worries me so much. My clients come to me and I'm like, I get new clients and I'm like, they can't like hold themselves against a wall because you've just never had this conversation. I say right elbow, your left leg is coming up. It's because you've never had a conversation with your body, and that's so sad. Like, I feel sad. Like, I feel like you're depriving something of yourself of like a better, fuller lifestyle. Like.
But again, that's because you are now worried about how everyone else is looking at your lifestyle versus how you look at your lifestyle, right? It's that vicious circle that just keeps going on.
Then you work out for the wrong reasons.
Of course.
And then you get really unfit. Also, I have like people who come with like, oh my god, and like young people like who have like so many issues and like, or like physical pain. We can't do this. We feel pain in our knee. And how do you begin? Like, now that everything is like, where do I begin?
Yeah.
It's such a hard like, and then it's like this hard journey, and then you hate working out, and then you're like, oh my god, how do I convince you that this is something you need?
It's very challenging. I mean, our previous episode that we had, we actually interviewed one of the people from Tagda Raho.
Yeah, I love Tagda Raho.
So that was the same thing that we were discussing in that podcast as well, that people misused, did not take care of their body in their 20s, and therefore now in their 30s, because they're suffering, are now trying to figure out how to work it out, and that's become the biggest issue.
Yeah.
But coming back to you as a dancer.
Dancer, yes.
So for any child or student that is interested in dance, or like you has been dancing their whole life, what would be a good way for them to try and enter this industry? Like, how should they go about it?
I would say get your training really sorted. In the sense that if you have the access and the ability to access this training, you should get a good diploma or a master's or anything in movement. So that makes your whole training more full. You have, like, I did my diploma in Atakari. You do like lights and design, you do stage, you do, of course, you do dance training, physical training. We did kalari, we did chow, like contemporary, everything. So your body is versatile, ready to adapt, fit at the most. Like, you cannot afford to get injured.
Of course.
Like that's the number one. Like, it's a huge scary. Like, you don't want to get injured.
Absolutely.
Most of us work out like mad people to avoid injury. Like, and find a workout that works for you. It doesn't have to be like weights, and it doesn't have to be anything aggressive. Something that works for you on a daily practice. So you as an artist is constantly developing and interacting with your body. And then just like shoot your shot. Like, I think get trained and build a network. Training is the best way to build a network. Like, travel if you can, train in your city, meet hundreds of people, teachers who are already doing dance. Also find your niche in dance. Like contemporary dance is like a small community. There's so much else. Like, there's people who are just doing like this reels and choreography, and that's also a thing. Like, it's a really good skill to have. So that's a different niche. Then you have like bigger shows like Terence Lewis and these guys who put up like stage performances for like Bollywood, and like or like weddings. That's also a career path, and that's actually a huge demand right now.
Yeah.
So find what gives you joy. Like for me, it's this, like having a voice and say using my art to do that,
Express yourself.
express that voice. And this all these people have different voices and different modes of expression, so you have to choose what you want to do. You can also say, I don't know if I'm really wanting to get into the dance space, but I can do arts management because I want to be able to help artists get jobs and create jobs for artists. You can do something in like the space of like just opening a studio and doing the business aspect of it, and like getting more collaborators, people, building a community for dance. Like as a like artist, performing artist myself, I find it so hard to build a community because I have to focus on my art, like focus on trying to do classes, and then it's really hard to, and that takes time. There's so many aspects to it. Find like what brings you joy and what you're good at, where you feel you can give your most and do your best. Or you can try everything. That's the best thing about being an artist.
Very true.
You can dip your hands in everything. Like right now I'm still young, so I love the fact that I can really do whatever I want. I can experiment, and I found a stable source of like income and a stability in terms of everyday work. So I'm able to do this, like, and give myself time as well to be able to dip my hands in art, like think about what I want to talk about, what my work wants to talk about. I think the world is your oyster, but once your body is trained and ready for it, because and you know what you're getting into, and I think that only comes with like extreme physical training and like meeting people who are in the job every day, not people who are moonlighting. There's people who are doing dance everywhere, and it's lovely, but then there are people who are doing dance every single day. You're contributing to that community, and you're trying to make this tree grow that you may never sit under.
True,
but you're trying to build this thing, and I think that's what it is, and you see what it takes. I think getting to know what it takes is a huge thing. Like for me, watercolor was that, like I was like, shit, do I have it? Like I don't know. And then I realized I need another year of training. So I did one more year in New York, and then when I came back, I felt more like ready to have a voice, to say something, or to be someone's muse, to say something.
No, that makes sense. Would you also say then that it would ideally, at least one path to go would be to find yourself the right mentor in dance?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I mean, I know I sounded very basic there with ideally a good mentor in any space would be helpful. But
I think mentor and inspiration, like even someone like now you have so much access to online. Like I found my favorite dance company through Instagram. I'd never actually seen them perform till I went to New York, and like then did the research and spend the money, and all this is hard. Yeah, you have to have the access to do all this. But I think also like training, by the way, maybe I didn't mention, you can do this yourself. Like I have a lot of dancers, working dancers, who have trained themselves and like been there, so you don't have to feel like
that you have to spend it to train.
Correct. It is expensive.
Absolutely.
I think there's lots of access online now. Find someone who can help you out. Like I think that's the best part of the artist community and the dancing community especially. It like has your back all the time. You feel like you can I can right now if I need some help with something, I can pull and ask anyone, and I know there'll be someone
that can help
who can do it.
Yeah.
And that's what's great, and it doesn't feel like a huge thing. There's no formality, of course we have our rules and your whatever, these things that by the year, but everything else is good, and I think that's what's the best thing. So just involve yourself in the community, go watch shows, and contemporary dance shows, so half the time we're doing it for free, and if you come and tell me you're an artist and you can't afford to buy the ticket, I'm come, please watch the show. We just want to have more and more people be able to watch our work, and that's why we do everything else. That's why I teach. All these things
Makes
involved,
sense.
so that I'm able to do this with an open heart and an open mind, and without worrying about like, oh, this is not making me any money. Go watch shows, go talk to people. If you attend a class, talk to your teacher after. Build a rapport, so that later when and if you need anything, you can always go back to that. It works the same everywhere. I think it's not very different, I guess, and for the other things.
So the way I have seen it, because I have been lucky enough to experience being in so many different industries. If there is a level of competition involved, I would say it gets harder to connect or to have a rapport, because as soon as it's like you are a potential. So if I use the sports example, whenever I trained for sprinting, especially when I was in the US and I was training for college, the first coach I had, or the first coach that was the college team coach, he, of course, racism and all that aside, was very clear that because I would not be running for the US, he didn't want to train me. Because if he gave me the expertise that he gave me and then I ran for India, it would hamper him. And so even though I would be representing him in college, he was like, moving forward, it's going to be detrimental. Therefore, apart from me not being white and all of that other stuff, he was like, I will never take you on my team. And so for that, I was like, okay, interesting. Welcome to America.
I also thought sports would not be a space for this.
More so is, right? Because it's now that, again, it's like when you take it in its purest form, it shouldn't. When you're here to play and have fun, like when you're there to dance and have fun, in its purest form, it should be enjoyed in any way, shape or form. But the problem is, as soon as you bring winning and losing, and that winning and losing meaning making money, getting sponsorships and all of that, then they're like, no. Can't do. Too competitive. Win at all costs.
I mean, if you put the politics in it, then it's all going to change the dynamics, no?
So that's where I feel that even, so sports was the example I gave, but let's say you take the corporate culture. Any person you've interacted with who is in the corporate world will tell you that every person around them is ready to pull them down and get up if they can.
Correct. I guess,
So there it's like if I have to reach out and be like, hey, can you help me? They'll be like, yeah, I'll help you. And then
you're not sure.
You're not sure. You can't be clear that yes, they will help you for just wanting to help. But yes, it is very nice to hear that the dance community is so supportive of each other.
It is. It's really lovely. It's my favorite community. And a lot like it's. I also think it's because everyone just wants to be able to put
out
dance. Like ultimately, it's that that you want to be able to dance. And you want to be able to make that sustainable. That's the goal. Like, how do I make dance sustainable for myself? And a lot of people have done it, somehow have achieved it, have forged that path and have got there. But then there's also most of us are trying, and we're trying every day. And even those who have achieved it, it's not like okay, now I'm sorted. But you're trying, you're still making it happen every single day. And so I think that's the beauty of it. You just want, ultimately, for more people to consume dance and to make dance sustainable. So in no way is pulling someone else down gonna help benefit that situation. And that's what we ultimately want. And foundations are there. There are funding bodies. There are things happening every year. But can you imagine there are 3 things, and there's all the contemporary dancers who all want to be a part of those 3 things. Or get those grants, so it's like you can imagine the competition, and it's not even competition. I don't want to call it competition.
It's more desperation, right? That
it's like there's a pool of money, and then there's a pool 3 times the size who wants that access to that little thing. So you just want to dip your toes in it, and it's really hard. So everyone ultimately is just doing the same thing year after year.
Here I feel it's a question more of survival than...
and year after year you're applying for the same things. There are certain markers there that, okay, now I want to propose my piece, I'm going to try for this thing that happens in Jan, this thing happens in December, this thing happens here. You just keep applying for that. Those are the big funding bodies. You'll get a chunk of money, you'll get a nice show where it's a good representation, and people will see that show, then pick up that show, and then so on and so forth, then it works. but you have to get that. You have to reach those markers. You have to be able to apply, have the
Mhm.
accessibility to write, to do all that. It's a whole endeavor. And yeah, last year I did it, the whole year I did it. I finally got a grant end of year.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. I did a show at Serendipity in Goa, 3 shows. It was great. That's one thing. But now, like, there's a lull. Like, because after I'm done, I have to come back, I have to sit and work on, like, where can I apply more?
Mhm.
Because ultimately, I can't fund my own production all the time. And that was
Correct.
great because I got a good grant and I was able to pay a dancer, pay for my music, pay for everything. And then, but now I can't keep paying, no, and like
Of course.
renting out
Yeah,
spaces, paying them what 30K for one day, and then doing a show and then barely making. So it's a loss. It's
Absolutely.
a loss making thing. So now it's about who's gonna host me, who's gonna pay me a little bit to be able to come and do that. And there's very little money available. So I don't blame places
Places
like
for it.
studios and spaces who can't do it. There's very little money. Those are also barely running. So then you do collaborations and so ultimately dance brings you little money, and it's just about showing your art and trying to be like, look, I made this little thing now, and I want as many people to be able to watch it. You want the world to see it ideally.
Absolutely.
And then you have international festivals, which is like even more.
Of course. That's
like
the bigger it gets, the more
Yeah.
expensive it's gonna get. So
and
that's a given.
lots of festivals will fund you in and out, your travel, your stay, your dancers pay, everything will be sorted. But lots will be like, get here and then we'll sort you.
Yeah.
How to get there? like, and if you're a team of 5 people, oh god, like how do you get your dancers there? And if it's my production, it's my responsibility.
Correct.
Like those
Yeah.
5 people are my dancers.
Absolutely.
If I want to perform in Sweden somewhere, I have to figure out how to fly my dancers. I can't be like, hey guys, pay for your
Yeah.
tickets. Like,
No, that's understandable.
that
makes
also
sense.
happens, by the way. The world is as such, but what to do? Like, it's really becomes. So now lots of people are making solos and duets because it's simpler.
Mm.
And I feel a little sad about that because you're compromising on your art.
Mhm.
Like, what if the piece requires 10 people? Unheard of. You can't. Like,
No, I'm sure it's very challenging. But that comes to my next question then. With all these challenges, and given the fact that I would say most Indian parents, especially, are always so worried about how much money you're
Yeah.
going to make and
Yeah.
how you're going to survive, how can they then be more supportive towards their kids if they have this passion to go towards? I know you may not be able to relate to it because you had a very supportive
No,
family.
I mean, yeah, but no, even my family is constantly worried about me.
Mhm.
Like, they're like, you're working so much, what's coming in the, like, I hope so. Of course, I don't know. I think one is it's the lifestyle you choose to have. I think that's a huge thing. Like, you can be very happy and have a good lifestyle. I'm not saying we have to live like,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
don't have
so
to be-
it's what you're chasing now, ultimately. Like, so if you feel like you're chasing a certain lifestyle, then you have to have aspirations as such.
Mhm.
And like, you can make, what you're asking me to, how to convince parents, how
Not
to make
convinced.
them.
So it's maybe even if you had any certain situation or experience where maybe your parents were now doubtful about you
Yeah.
potentially pursuing, how does the student or the child deal with that? Like, so the idea is that you can't, for the most part, we can't convince our parents or force our parents.
Correct.
But it's like, how can you potentially deal with it better to continue pursuing what you want to pursue, but also not let these negativities affect you?
Okay, I'm a bit of like a cryptic about this.
Go
Like,
for
it's
it,
not
it's
like,
okay.
if your parents don't buy it, they don't buy it.
Mhm.
That's what it is. They're
Mhm.
not able to see you doing this in the long run. They're not able to visualize it for you or see it or like believe that, okay, this is an ambition. It's what it is. You can't convince someone. And sometimes our parents belong to a different world altogether, a different
Absolutely.
generation. I personally believe instead of fighting constantly and making them change, it's what it is. They are from a different world. You cannot expect them to come to your level and understand you.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
okay. They also shouldn't expect you to get on their level and understand them. But at the same time, then if this is the case, all you have to do is believe in yourself, of course, cliche as it sounds. Believe in yourself, back yourself up. If this is what you want to do it. Like, rug your socks out. It's what it is, you know. Do the thing, figure it out, make life happen for you. Feel like, and I think once you start working and they see you working, living for yourself, even tiny things like buying a new shirt for yourself without taking help from them, or like, you know, whatever, start doing those things for yourself, and living within your means. And that doesn't mean your means are going to be this all the time, but right now your means are this.
Correct.
As a starting working artist, this is your means right now. You're just starting out, you're, you know, coming out in the open. These are living within your means. Live within your means. Maybe continue to live with your parents so that you can save up on rent, all those things. You need to start thinking about those things really quickly. It's what it is.
Absolutely.
Because it's a tough path ahead. It's not going to be easy. So think about all those things early and get your shit done, in my opinion. Like, and be have the knowledge to like you know, do this on your own. Like, if you don't have it, build it. Learn how to do it. Figure out your finances. Figure out what it takes to like be able to have a certain lifestyle. Okay, if I want this and I want to continue having this lifestyle, how much do I need to make in order to do this? And then chase it, hustle through it. Sometimes I forget I'm an artist because I'm paying bills. I'm like, shit, I have to make rent. I'm only just gonna start paying rent, by the way. I was staying with my brother in a house my parents own, so I was saving a lot, and I now want to start paying rent. So like, this is the next journey for me. So now I have to figure my bills. So right now I'm not thinking about dance much or my art much because it's what I have to do. So I'm taking like a lot of Pilates classes, doing a lot of gigs at school, keep staying in the dance world because I figured it out for myself. And like, I'm proud and cocky enough to say that I've done this for myself, made sure that I'm staying within the realm of the body so I don't feel very like out of it at all. So I've done it. Like, and you just have to, then you hustle, and then you feel like shit sometimes. Like, just 2 days ago I was like, shit, yeah, like I've not been dancing. I feel like, where, what, like I'm no more an artist. You get this existential thing
will have
every
the lows,
other,
the lows will come
every other day, like every other month. When you're not dancing, it's just like, shit, am I really an artist? Am I really a dancer? On top of that, there's not much studio access in Bangalore where you can go attend classes. Like yesterday, I did a dance class after so long because I had a free morning, and I just jumped on the opportunity. And but that's a rare occurrence. Like, I'm saying yesterday, but it's actually like not happened in like a month or two, like 2 months, and it's hard. But you have to do what you have to do, and then start doing it. And then, I mean, I saw my parents' attitude towards me change when I was just doing it, and they saw me working hard and doing what I have to do. And then your priorities change. You build new priorities. You build new perspectives of life as you go through life. That's what it is about life ultimately.
Of course. That is a given.
Yeah, and then you just, I think after that it gets better. And I think it works that way. Once you start doing and not talking about it and not like sitting on your, and just like, then your parents may start seeing it. They may start seeing, they may never, but life cannot always be about proving a point.
Absolutely.
You will realize once you start, like, and if you realize once you, if this is what I want to do, and then I don't have much support, if that's the case, then you have to hustle harder. It's just what it is. And it's unfortunate that some people have and some people don't, but that's the world.
No, that's a given. I mean, you will have lots of people that may not believe in you or may not accept it. The point you made of saying that you have to believe in yourself is probably
and
the biggest
factor. And you have to back yourself up. Like,
absolutely.
You have to back yourself up and say, no, I will get through it. And when I do, you'll be proud of me. That's all. Like, it's not about like, I will prove a point.
I think more than that, more than even saying that you will be proud of me, it's that I will be proud of myself.
Correct. And
it's just
you will
being
know that
very
this
clear.
is what you want to do, and you've done it.
Absolutely.
Whatever little or large, that's subjective. That's fully subjective.
Absolutely.
Lifestyle, whatever, everything is subjective. But as long as you feel like you've done something, just that gets you through the day. That's
Very
all.
true.
and the next day, and that's what you have to ultimately do.
Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming.
So one last question for you, Gayatri.
Yes.
Is there anything you feel you could have done differently in your journey as a dancer?
Oh my God.
Not necessarily saying that there are any regrets, but just if there you feel there was an easier path that you could have pursued when you were younger versus like when you look back at it now. Because we all learned through our experiences moving forward, and it's
Correct.
always a hindsight thought. But if there is like maybe something you realized which would be beneficial for others to hear.
I don't know. I think maybe I say this all the time, but I also don't fully believe it. That
Mhm.
maybe I wouldn't have done my degree in Christ. I do think it was important for me at the same time.
Mhm.
But sometimes I think if I was younger,
Mhm.
like 18 when I was in New York and not 24,
Mhm.
then maybe I would have been able to take bigger risks and not feel so burdened by it. That's one thing I've thought about, but I don't fully believe it. Also, it's like
Fair enough.
like
That's-
it's definitely like not something I'm convinced about.
Yeah.
But I've thought about it sometimes because I see like when I was in New York and when I travel for like intensives and training and stuff like that, I see a lot of younger like 18-year-olds and like 19-year-olds there and like starting right now. And I think about like, okay, what if I was? And I think it gives you more time.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's true. But another thing is, I also think if I knew what kind of contemporary dance I would be doing, or if I had researched maybe as a younger artist, like watched more shows online, watched more performances in general. I think I was so hung up on training that the body's dead, and then you're like, I'm not
Nothing else to
I
do.
can't go consume dance right now,
Yeah.
or like anything for the matter. I wish I researched more, and then I would have seen maybe that Europe is a better space for what I was doing, and not the US.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's harder to also get a visa and be able to stay in the US. I don't know if I would have stayed if I got access to, or if I was in Europe either way.
Mhm.
But either way, there's a lot more abstract contemporary art happening in Europe than in the US. In the US, it is there, but I feel like for me, it's a better space. That would have been a better
Better
space.
to be in.
But at the time, there were lots of things calling me to New York. Like, I don't regret it. I had a great time there, and I would never change it.
Mhm.
But I wonder, like, if I had done more research, then maybe. Also, I was already 24, 25 when I was coming back. So now I can't again think of, like, okay, doing another training program
Yeah.
somewhere, right? I wanted to just start. I was, like, ready to just get the ball rolling. Like, so. Also, COVID was around that time. So.
I mean, COVID is a
Lots of
outlier.
factors like contributed
Yeah.
to the decision making. But I think what like I'm trying to say ultimately say is like when you're training, like when you make decisions, think about the long term
Mhm.
thing of it. Like it's easier for artists to base in Europe if you want to do that. Like if you and there's a lot more work, a lot more opportunities. But like a lot of artists want to end up coming back, and that's
Mhm.
also a risk. Like I think I would stay here only, like and work here. That's not what I'm saying, but like it's just weigh your
What works
pros
for
and
you.
cons, do your
Yeah.
research, watch more shows, like just watch more performances and like consume as much of art as you can, so like you know more. And that's something I didn't do when I was younger. It's like, oh, don't do now even, like because I don't have access to a lot of shows. But watch, like when you're traveling, like watch shows, find out what art is happening there, watch the culture of the place you're going to, especially if you want to be an artist.
Mhm.
Consume the culture of places you visit, like cities, towns, villages you travel to. Everywhere there's a folk dance, there's a folk song, there's some art they're doing.
Absolutely.
Everywhere, like there's something that they'd be doing. Like consume it. Like I have gone to Mangalore year after year since I was a child. I have not watched an Atta like till more recently.
Mhm.
It's that
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you know I'm just watch more like and this is not for people who want to become artists. I would say like
In
all
general.
kids and like teens like start consuming art as early as you can. It's life changing. Like you should and must. Like the kids in my school, I'm constantly telling them don't watch shit on your phone. As much as I watch it too, watch it in
Lesser, yeah.
moderation. And like I've been trying to get like schools I work at to be like, let's take them to this play, let's watch this. And there's lots of kids plays happening. Take your babies to little plays. And like Ranga Shankara hosts a lot of kids plays. um, yeah, exposure to art is, I think, the key. Like when you're growing up, and then you'll know what you want to do once you jump into art. Like you'll just know what it takes, I think.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it comes back to what you said, right? If you've dipped your toes everywhere, then the likelihood of you knowing what you
Yeah.
want to do is going to be much higher.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Uh, just one more heavy-handed question because I love doing this to everybody I talk to.
Okay.
Is if there is one piece of advice that you can give people, doesn't have to be students or kids, but just based off all the experiences you've had in your life, you've been privileged enough to have traveled the world, seen cultures, interacted with so many different people. What is the one piece of advice you would like to give people in general, like life advice?
Oh my god, I don't know.
That's why I said it's heavy-handed. I love doing this.
I also don't think I'm equipped to give life advice.
Why do you say that? Everybody does.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, maybe I would take life advice from everybody, that's why. I guess it's true. But maybe just slow down and like find stillness wherever you go. Like absorb more and less like, let's do this. One thing I've started doing like as an adult or like even as a child adult, like in my like 20s, I guess. I'm still in my 20s, but is that like I take it in, like I take a second to like slow down wherever I am. For me, it's involves moving and dancing. In wherever I go, I try to take a second to spend time with myself, and for me that is dancing. But for you, that could be anything. But do that. Spend a moment with yourself and like process what's in the body. Because my number one life advice, like do something with your body, engage and make a relationship with your body, whether it's pottery even, like you don't have to work out, whatever, like do something where you're sitting with your body and you're working and using your hands and your like the labor of things, like feel the labor of things, like do that with your body. Yeah, engage, build a relationship with your body, and yeah, that's all I would ask of people. Like,
Oh, wonderful.
yeah.
I would say that's probably perfectly said / summed up.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming in, Gayatri.
Thank
you
you.
for all your
This
insights.
was fun.
Yes. I try to have fun. I try to be a little nasty with my questions.
You're not that bad.
Yeah, not that bad, but I like to be. So this was Unlock Your Dreams, another wonderful episode. Please check out Citizens of Stage Co. and any other dance performances that happen in Bangalore and across India. And we hope to see you next time.